everybody, the future is right around the corner and camera manufacturers don't want you to know what I'm going to share with you today. Are you ready for this? Let's do it. Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new to this channel is actually dedicated to increasing your understanding of photography and photo art and helping you actually get really creative and thinking out of the box. If that sounds great for you, please join me. And if you could do me a favor, if you could like this video, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. That way, when I upload a new video, you'll get notified regarding that. And let's talk about liking the video. I didn't know this because I'm fairly new to YouTube, but I found out that it's important for you to like a video because it helps with the algorithm and they will push out to help promote this channel to other people that have the same interest. Also, if you have a question about anything, I prefer that you actually email me. My email address should be at the bottom of the screen here, but it is stevenphotoartist@gmail.com. Thank you for the people that have emailed me and actually made suggestions on topics they'd like to see covered in the near future. In fact, today is a result of a question that I just got a week ago, and that is, what are companies or camera companies don't want you to know? There's something is going on, something's weird, and it has to do with AI. Because somebody asked me, what do you think about AI, which is artificial intelligence, coming into photography? And mainly it's coming into our photo editing software. And I respond back by thinking, this is pretty good stuff in my opinion, but camera companies are hating this and don't want you to know about it because there's no need for you to maybe upgrade your camera at a faster rate than they would like you to. Let's put it that way. So in other words, you'll get more longevity out of the existing camera you have, put more mileage on it before you consider thinking about actually purchasing a new upgraded camera. So I'm going to show you something. We're going to talk about, first of all, a resolution and how, for me, resolution is totally irrelevant in the type of work I do. Yes, I understand some people need high resolution in their images, but I was doing 10 by 10 and 12 by 12 inch square wedding albums shooting with a Rebel XT back in, let's see, I got the camera in 2005. I think it was spring of 2005. And my first wedding I shot is toward the end. I think it was in the fall. And I was able to do albums, print, no problem at all. So let me show you something. Let's go to Photoshop for a moment. So I'm going to open this up. And where are you? There we are. Okay, you could find this if you do search on the internet. All these different charts are called printing charts based on megapixels with your camera. And if you take a look at this, this has in purple the best that you can do with the output of your camera. Excellent would be blue, great would be green, and good is in yellow. And then you want to avoid anything in black because that's where it starts to break apart and fall apart when you're having that printed. So let's take a look at my 8 megapixel camera right here. And if I move across here, look at that. Under the best possible scenario, I can do 11 by 14. And basically, I was doing 10 by 10 and 12 by 12 wedding albums. Not a problem. But look at this. All the way to 24 by 36 wall prints that I can do in good print condition. Isn't that crazy? So my second camera is my Canon 50D, and it shot 16 megapixel. And I took that camera out of retirement, and I'm playing with it and experimenting with it. But again, look what I can print with this all the way over here to 40 by 60. I have a Canon 6D, my entry level, and to full frame, and that shoots 24 megapixel. And same thing, and go up to 40 by 60. In fact, I actually did a print 20 inches by 60 inches. So it's like 5 feet. It's a panoramic shot. It's just gorgeous. Huge print with a 24 megapixel camera. Incredible. Now my camera shoots 26 megapixel, and that is the Canon 60 Mark II. And I really don't have any interest in getting a camera that shoots 35, 40, 50 megapixels because, heck, when I was doing weddings, the last thing I want to do is have 1,000, 1,500 images, huge file size. It's ridiculous. So you need to know this. There's only a small percentage of people that need large file sizes out there. And they're generally doing commercial type work. And that's not most of us. In fact, the broad audience of people who own cameras and shoot photography are hobbyists and amateur photographers. They're not doing it for a business. And that's the bulk of the people. The amount of people actually in business full-time is very small. And in a little bit bigger group are the part-time people that are in business. But the vast majority are not. And these people are not even printing, the hobbyists and whatever, or hardly any are. Most of them are putting it on social media. It's an 8-bit file, JPEG. I mean, come on, and it's low res. You're not going to put a 30, 40, a megapixel file out there because, all these companies like Facebook and that, they're going to crunch it right down anyhow. So they'll give you an idea about print size, what can be done, and don't think that you have to have this humongous megapixel. But let's take a look at something that we could do in Photoshop. So I'm going to close this. And we've had this, it's fairly new, but it's been around for maybe 4 or 5 years, maybe not even that. And I'm going to open up this image. And by the way, these images I'm going to use today is shot with that 15-year-old Canon 50D, 15 megapixel camera. 3200 ISO is the max you can do on that. Not 32,000, 3200. My Rebel was 1600 with an 8 megapixel file size. But let's take a look at this. Now, this was purposely done in very low light conditions on a table in my kitchen. Very little light coming in from the kitchen window. And I shot this with at the time I bought it, this was back in, boy, I just can't remember the years, but maybe it was like 2008 at a convention. The Nifty 50 by Canon. It shoots 1.8, and it normally sold for $99 at that time, and it was on sale for $89. So I took that lens out, stuck it on that 15-year-old, 50D, and this is the shot I did. And if you take a look down here, it'll actually show you that that is a 15 megapixel file. If I just right mouse click anywhere on this image, because this is in Camera Raw, anytime in Photoshop that you open up a RAW file, it's going to open up the Camera Raw item first before it pushes it into Photoshop. If I right mouse click on that, check this out. There's a feature in there called Enhance. Now, when I choose Enhance, I just have this activated right here that says Super Resolution, Estimated Completion, about, 5 seconds? Okay, let's hit Enhance and see what happens. And it's going to process this in the lower left-hand corner. I can't believe it's 5 seconds. I think that's an error. Usually it takes, surprising, it did it. So here's what it did. Surprised me on the speed. This is the normal file that we just did, and it's 15 megapixel. It creates what's called a DNG file. It's a RAW file, but the DNG format is by Adobe, which means it's giving me the same properties as a basic RAW file. But look at the file size, 60. Well, wait a minute. I thought I just doubled the size. And I'm looking at this, and it's quadruple the file size. So this is what's important to understand. We're actually doubling the physical pixel size of the image, but the file size will actually be quadruple. So here's an example to help explain this. I'm just going to cancel out of this for right now. And I put this file together to help explain this. And I got to keep things in simple terms for me here. So let's say this is our file, and it is a 2 pixel by 2 pixel files. And if you multiply 2 times 2, you'll get 4. So that's the actual size of that little file right there. If I double the size of the file, so now instead of 2 by 2, it's now going to be 4 by 4. If you multiply 4 times 4, you're going to get 16 as a file size. So 4 right here times 4 is 16, quadruple. The 16 is quadruple the file size. So by, again, just quickly, by doubling your pixel size, you're actually quadrupling the file size. And that's why the 15 megapixel now turned into 60. So you can imagine if you have a camera that shoots 25 megapixel, you're going to end up with 100 megapixel file size. I mean, and I'm going to tell you something. As long as this image is clean and sharp, you're going to get that big file size clean and sharp also. I mean, it is just incredible. So hopefully that makes sense. I'm going to close out of this, and I don't know if I need Photoshop again, so I'm going to minimize that just in case. And I'm going to go to a website, and let's talk about artificial intelligence and how this is starting to happen. It's been happening right now, but I'm going to tell you in a couple of years, camera companies, I think, are getting a little bit nervous because as people discover AI in processing their images, all of a sudden having a high megapixel camera isn't going to mean that much anymore. Low light isn't going to mean, your quality of image in low light isn't going to mean much anymore as we move into the future, because things are just getting stronger and better in AI. If you need to sharpen an image, which I never have to because of the type of photography I do. I mean, everything comes in sharp. But I understand people do other types of stuff with a lot of action. You're moving around quickly, and sometimes you get a soft image in that. And here we go. AI is starting to correct this stuff, and it's just getting better and better. It just freaks me out. Anyhow, I'm at a website that somebody told me to check out, and that came from an email, and that is Topaz Labs. Now, I've known of Topaz for a long time. They have 3 major programs: Denoise AI, Gigapixel AI, and Sharpen AI. And they are standalone programs, extremely powerful. You can find demos of them, people on YouTube showing you how to use it, that kind of stuff, the results that they get. But they also have a software where they took the concept of these 3, denoise, increasing the file size, and sharpening, rolled it into one called Topaz Photo AI, and it has a feature in there called Autopilot. And what it's supposed to do is analyze the image and with AI determine if it needs sharpening. If it doesn't, it leaves it alone. Oh, you got noise? We'll reduce the noise. We're going to get that noise out. And then it's up to you if you would like to increase the file size. If you want to double it, make it 4 times bigger, whatever. That's all rolled into one single product. And it's not as strong yet as the other 3 I just showed you that you could get. But I know Topaz and I know all these software companies with AI, over time, it's just going to get better and better and better. So I downloaded the trial version of this. And let me jump over to that program and just show you a couple things really quick. So I'm going to just use a free demo. You could download the demo and try it for yourself. I'm going to browse to find an image. And I'm going to choose that same image we just looked at here and click on Open. And what it's going to do when it opens this, it's going to automatically, without me doing anything, start analyzing it. And you'll see over here on the right side, it's doing some stuff detecting, and it's processing in the lower left-hand corner down here. It's scanning the image, and it's actually using, if I go over the processor, my graphics card. So if you have a decent graphics card, it's actually going to use that. And as it's analyzing it and scanning it, it'll determine what it's going to do. And I see it's calculating, and now it opened up over here on the far right side to remove noise. So now it's processing it. Look at that. It knows it doesn't need to sharpen it, even though it's very soft, but I focused on one flower, and in the rest, if it's forward or behind, it's going to be blurred because it was shot at 1.8. If you click and drag to move to another location, it has to reprocess everything. But look at the difference, the before, after, before, after. If I push this back to fit, let's take a look at this. And again, it has to reprocess the whole thing because now it's viewing the entire product, but it doesn't take that long. And there you go. I mean, look at the difference between the two over here on the left side versus the right side. Incredible. But I found that there's a bug that I reported back to them. So let me show you this bug, and watch when I do it. It won't do the bug for me or whatever. So I'm going to close this out, or close all images. I don't think I had more than one open, but let's go to Open Images. or let's just choose browse. It'll take me back to the same folder. I'm going to choose a JPEG. Now, when I shot this with the 50D, I had it set to, hey, give me a RAW file and give me a JPEG. And if you're going to use JPEGs in this, there is a bit of an issue, so we'll see if it happens. It should scan this and process this. So let it do some thinking. And again, it's looking at it. It's processing over here, on the far right, and down here on the left, you can see it's scanning. And let it do its thing. Now, okay, here's the bug. It's determining that it doesn't need to remove any noise, but it wants to sharpen the image. It added that feature, and this image does not need to be sharpened. I mean, I focus right here, and yes, everything else is going to be soft if it's forward or back, because I'm shooting at 1.8, fairly close to that with that 50 mil lens. So I'm going to turn that off. It allows you to say, nope, you goofed up wrong, and I'm going to choose to remove noise. And when I do that and let it analyze it, let me pull up here to 100% so we can see that and see what it does. And by the way, you have some features here that you can see that even though this is turned on, if you don't like what it gives you, you could open this up and actually alternate the strength and detail that's in this dialog box. Also with sharpen, you can do the same thing here. But look what it did. So with a JPEG file, I mean, this is incredible. And if I go back to fit and let it process again, you might not be able to see the difference here between the two, but trust me, it did a really, really good job. And remember this. This is with a 15-year-old camera, 15-year-old technology sensor at that time, which weren't the greatest, compared to today, right? Our sensors are far better than what they were before. But it does a great job. And I did a test print. I gave it to somebody who has it, so I didn't get it back to show you. And it's hard to see anyhow on YouTube, but unbelievable, the quality of the print from this JPEG right there. Incredible. So let me show you one more, and that is, let me close all the images there. And let's go back to browse. And I shot this in a restaurant at very, very low light, but I didn't shoot this at 3200 ISO. This was at, it was 1.8, but it was 1,000th of a ISO. 1,000 ISO at 1.8, and let it do its thing. And because it's a RAW file, it knows to, let's see, it's processing. It knows to sharpen, and interesting, it chose sharpen. And I can see why, because of the curvature. But I found out that when I looked at the glass really close, the logo that's on that glass is not sharp to begin with. So it looks like it's a little bit fuzzy and not clear. That might be the reason why it activated sharpen. But did a good job on this. There's before, after. Now it's hard to see before and after on this. Let me put it at 100%. The reason is this file is not that bad at 1000 ISO on this old camera and sensor, but let it process it out. Let's take a look at the difference between the two. Okay, so there's before, after, and I'm convinced though that I can clean that up in the raw camera filter that we have in Photoshop. So I really didn't need this product to do that, but this is a very good job. So that is this program by Topaz Labs. You might be interested in taking a look at that. I would definitely get the trial version for yourself. And let's go back to, let's take a look at another product that you probably never heard of with AI, and that's called Adobe Photoshop. Adobe has to do this stuff because of the fact that other companies are doing it. So I showed you the Enhance, which we've had for a little while, but let me show you something that's been fairly new, and it's under Filter drop-down menu, but you're going to notice it's going to be grayed out, and that's called Neural Filters. You have to have an image opened up. So let me just open up, I'll just choose this JPEG. I need something. It could be a raw file, doesn't matter that you open up eventually in Photoshop here. But now if I go back to Filter drop-down menu, I can go to something called Neural Filters, and when the panel opens up, some of these things you actually have to download. and because you'll see in the cloud if you want to try any of these things out. Most of these things have to use the technology on Adobe servers. So you have to have a live internet connection for this to work, because it's going to pull information from your computer back to them, process, and push it back to you. There is a waiting list that I am part of over here, and there is something called noise reduction. It's not available yet. I'll be informed what it is, but gee, I wonder why that is there. Well, they have to because of competing products out there. And Topaz Labs is not the only software company out there that's integrating AI technology. So I love the fact that competition always pushes everybody to try to stay one step ahead of everybody else, which is a good thing. So I have a strong feeling that eventually Adobe is going to have some really cool, strong neural filters in here that we could use that will compete against the other software companies out there. So this is the future, whether you like it or not. I know camera companies are not going to like this. They don't want you to know about this stuff. But in my opinion, I could take a camera like my 50D, and boy, I can get some good life out of that. Now, just as a disclaimer, I'm not an affiliate with Topaz Labs. I was asked to take a look at this by somebody else. And would I buy this software that I just showed you, that I demoed from Topaz Labs? And the answer is no. And the reason is not because it's a bad product, but because the type of photography I do, I shoot between 100 to 400 ISO 90+% of the time. Once in a while, I'll go up to 800 as an ISO. I don't need something. I just showed you, that old camera at 1,000, and it did a decent job. And I can do cleanup right now in Lightroom or Photoshop to get good results. And the other thing is the type of photography that I do. I don't have an issue with soft or blurred images. It's just because of the type of work I do. But I know a lot of other people out there, the type of work that you do, you tend to get sometimes soft images or slightly blurred. And this might be a good thing for you. So definitely take a look at it. And because Photoshop has a built-in feature to, quadruple my file size, like the 16 megapixel, or 15 megapixel went to 60. What do I need anything bigger than that? Like I said, if something shoots at 25 out of your camera, you now have 100 megapixel file size if you want. So on some special image or whatever. So anyhow, definitely take a look at it. Fits your needs, your style. I say go for it. It's not that expensive. And I think it's going to give you a lot of longevity in the existing camera that you have. So maybe you don't have to upgrade your camera as often. And that's what a lot of camera companies are sort of worried about. Okay, especially hobbyists. I mean, that's a great thing. Hobbyists tend to be tight with money because, it's a hobby, and this could be a very expensive hobby. All right, hopefully you guys learned something. If you could do me a favor once again, and that is if you could actually, what do I normally do? I had a brain fart right there. And that is, please, if you could, again, like this video, subscribe if you haven't, and hit that notification bell. If you have any questions or issues, email me again at stevenphotoartist@gmail.com. I'll be glad to take a look at your suggestions. And always as I end my videos, and that is get out there with that camera, experiment, goof up. That's the way you learn. Get creative. Always keep thinking out of the box. Until next time, see ya.